It's 11:14 on a Sunday night. The house is quiet. The kind of quiet that should feel peaceful, but doesn't, because you're not really resting. You're thinking, lying in bed, staring at nothing, doing something you've done more times than you can count, running the numbers, mortgage, rent, car payments, student loans, credit cards, groceries, insurance, bills. Not because anything happened today. Nothing happened. That's the strange part. Life is normal. And still your mind refuses to relax, because somewhere in the back of your head, there's always that question: am I actually getting ahead or just staying in place? You don't say it out loud. You don't need to. You already know the feeling. It's not panic. It's not crisis. It's something quieter, a slow, constant pressure that never fully disappears. And even though you've learned to live with it, you still run the same mental calculations every week. Sunday night math, again and again. Because stopping would mean accepting something you're not fully ready to accept. That maybe this is just what adulthood feels like. Not chaos, not failure, just repetition. But somewhere else, on a different street, in a nearly identical house, someone else is living a completely different version of the same life. Same general neighborhood, same type of mortgage, same kind of job on paper. But their Sunday night looks different.
And slowly, over time, they start shaping every decision you make. Think about it. Every major life decision starts passing through the same filter. Should I switch jobs? Can I still afford everything if I do? Should I take a risk? What if something goes wrong? Should I start something new? Better not. Bills are too steady right now. You don't notice it happening. It feels responsible. It feels normal. But over time, it becomes something else. A life designed around avoiding disruption. And at the center of that structure for most people is one thing: housing debt. A mortgage, not just as a payment, but as a long-term background condition that quietly defines your financial behavior for decades. Now, let's make this real. Most households earn what looks like a reasonable income on paper. But once you subtract taxes, transportation, food, insurance, loans, and housing, what's left is much smaller than people expect. Because they're irresponsible, but because modern life has a lot of built-in costs won't go away easily, and housing is usually the biggest one. A mortgage isn't just money leaving your account. It's a commitment that repeats every month for decades. And because it's always there, your brain learns to organize life around it. Even when you're not thinking about it directly, it's still there in the background, quietly influencing decisions, quietly limiting options, quietly shaping risk tolerance. Now imagine that changes. Not suddenly becoming wealth, not doubling your income, not hitting some financial breakthrough, just one thing disappearing. The background stress lowers. The urgency in decision-making softens. The constant need to be careful starts fading. And for the first time in a long time, choices stop being purely defensive. People begin to take more calculated risks. They explore ideas they once avoided. They consider different careers. They think long-term instead of just month to month. Not because life became perfect, but because it became less restricted. And this is where the difference becomes visible. Two people, same general background, same starting point. But one is still operating under constant financial pressure, while the other is no longer forced to structure life entirely around survival math. Now, here's something most people never hear clearly. A mortgage is not just a financial tool. It is a long-term structure that influences behavior. It affects how safe you feel. It affects what risks you take. It affects how you define stability. And over time, it becomes part of your identity as a decision maker, which is why when it finally disappears, the change feels bigger than expected. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because life becomes less constrained. Now, to be realistic, even after a mortgage is gone, life is not free. Property taxes remain, insurance remains, maintenance remains. Homes still cost money to maintain. So the idea of suddenly having unlimited extra cash is wrong. That's not what happens. What actually changes is something more subtle: the margin, the breathing room.